Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. Earlier this week, I discussed the New York City DSA's, that's Democratic Socialists of America, endorsement of Assembly member Zohran Mamdani in the mayoral race. But the plot has thickened, and this latest twist could have big implications not just for the mayor's race, but for the future of the Democratic Socialists of America in city politics. For context, Mamdani, with the backing of the DSA, is running for mayor as the farthest left-wing candidate. His platform, which includes freezing rent for rent-stabilized apartments and representing marginalized communities, speaks to the core values of the DSA. But not all socialists in office are thrilled about this decision. Assembly member Emily Gallagher and council members Tiffany Caban and Alexa Avilés, people you would expect to be aligned with Mamdani, are actually raising red flags. Gallagher, in particular, sees Mamdani's candidacy as a potential disaster for their movement. In a private email to New York City DSA members, she warned that his run might make him a spoiler in the race, which honestly I don't see happening because of ranked choice voting, potentially alienating other mayoral candidates and putting socialist city council members in a tricky position. The fear is that if Mamdani's campaign falls flat, it could marginalize the DSA's influence in City Hall. And honestly, that's not such a far-fetched concern. Even my own brother, Alexander, who's a DSA member, urged caution. He thought the organization should wait to endorse, possibly out of fear that Mamdani's campaign could backfire. He's not alone in thinking this. It's worth noting that only 81% of DSA members supported the endorsement. Not exactly a landslide, considering this is supposed to be their guy. What's most interesting is how this schism within the DSA could reshape their standing in city government. If Mamdani can't generate enough support, or if he's perceived as a fringe candidate who siphons votes away from someone like Zellner Myrie or Brad Lander, it might weaken DSA's overall influence in local politics. The left already struggles to unite around a single candidate, and having this sort of internal strife doesn't help their cause. But here's the thing. If Mamdani's run does marginalize the DSA, it might not be the worst thing. Over the years, DSA has been a polarizing force in New York politics, and while they've championed some popular causes, their hardline stances have alienated a lot of potential allies, and a failed mayoral bid could force a reckoning within the organization, pushing them to reevaluate their approach to governance and coalition building.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good Morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. New Jersey State Senator John Braminick is on to something important, and it's an idea that deserves recognition. He's introducing legislation to create a joint legislative statesmanship task force that would promote civility among K through 12 students in New Jersey. As someone who has long called for more civility in both our politics and everyday life, I think this is a great initiative. I haven't looked at the details of exactly what the legislation says, but I'd also love to see this coupled with some sort of greater civic education component. Let's face it, the tone of our public discourse has deteriorated, whether it's on social media, in political debates, or even in our schools. Respect and basic decency have taken a backseat to division and name-calling. It's becoming acceptable, almost expected, for people to treat one another with disdain simply because they disagree. That's a dangerous trend, and it's one that affects not just adults, but kids too. Senator Braminick, who's running for governor, by the way, this idea of his of promoting civility in schools is a fantastic step in the right direction. Our schools are, after all, where young people spend most of their time. They're places where kids not only learn math and science, but also how to interact with others, instilling values like respect, dignity, and civility at an early age. This could have a ripple effect on society for generations to come. Imagine a future where students grow up learning not just to tolerate different opinions, but to engage in constructive, respectful dialogue. That's the kind of culture shift we desperately need. Braminick has been a longtime advocate for civility in politics, and he's bringing that same energy to our educational system. His proposal for this task force is a way to build a foundation of respectful interaction early on. It's especially important in today's hyper-partisan world where students are growing up in an environment where it's easy to think that shouting the loudest or being the most combative is how you win arguments or gain influence. The task force would emphasize teaching students the importance of treating each other with respect and dignity. Now, some may say, isn't that what parents are supposed to do? And of course, parents play a huge role in teaching their kids manners and respect. But schools are uniquely positioned to reinforce these values because they bring together kids from all different backgrounds. It's in these diverse settings that students can learn to appreciate other perspectives and understand the value of respectful disagreement. And let's not forget, the civility crisis isn't just limited to our politics. It affects our day-to-day lives. The way we talk to one another, both online and in person, can have real consequences. We've seen how quickly things can escalate when respect goes out the window. So why not take steps to reverse this trend by starting with the youngest members of our society? I think it's a great idea.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
Choosing a bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drink that's all flavor and just 100 calories? Easy. Choosing between creamy vanilla, double chocolate, and sea salt caramel flavors? A little harder. Try the delicious new Starbucks Frappuccino light drinks. Look for them wherever you buy groceries. Start with Starbucks coffee.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Here's a question I've had for years. Why do renters in New York City have to pay broker's fees? Seriously, I didn't understand it when I was a renter, and I still don't get it now that I'm a homeowner. You're searching for an apartment, and suddenly you're hit with a hefty broker's fee, sometimes thousands of dollars for the privilege of renting a place you found on your own. It's like paying someone to hand you the keys to your own wallet, and New Yorkers have had enough of it. Thankfully, the New York City Council is finally stepping in to address this bizarre, long-standing arrangement. On November 13th, they're expected to vote on a piece of legislation sponsored by Councilmember Chai Osi that would shift the responsibility for paying brokers' fees to the party that actually hires the broker, which is generally the landlord. Yes, you heard that right. If this passes, landlords would be the ones footing the bill for brokers' fees, not renters who are already drowning in sky-high rents. This legislation has been in the works for months and has faced strong opposition from, you guessed it, the real estate industry. They're not thrilled about the idea of disrupting a system that has worked so well for them, but not so well for renters. According to OC, New Yorkers have forked over billions of dollars in brokers' fees over the years. That's money out of people's pockets, often for services they didn't even ask for. You want to rent an apartment? Sure. But But first, cough up a month's rent for a broker who may have done little more than unlock the door for a viewing. To me, this bill makes perfect sense. If a landlord hires a broker to help find tenants, the landlord should pay for that service. Why on earth should that cost be passed along to the renter? It's like going to a restaurant and being asked to pay for the chef's wages. You're already paying for your meal, or in this case, your rent, so why should you cover someone else's costs on top of it? Now, it's important to note that while this bill has 33 council members signed on as sponsors, the city council speaker, Adrienne Adams, hasn't yet added her name to the list, and while that's just shy of a veto-proof majority, it's not a done deal. There's still some uncertainty around whether Mayor Eric Adams will support it. He's taken a cautious approach so far, saying idealism collides with realism when you start to try to alter entire industries. Translation, we'll see if it gets through. In any case, I think we should all be rooting for this bill to pass. It's about time we got rid of this ridiculous system that penalizes renters for simply wanting a place to live. If landlords want to use brokers, great. Let them pay for it. Renters are already paying through the nose just to keep a roof over their heads. Why should they pay extra for someone else's decision? So here's hoping the council gets this one across the finish line. Renters have been shouldering this unnecessary burden for far too long. It's time for a little fairness in New York City's housing market. And who knows? Maybe we'll look back at the broker fee one day and wonder why it ever existed in the first place.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
Today's episode is sponsored by NerdWallet's Smart Money Podcast. Making financial decisions shouldn't feel like picking a TV show. Too many options, too much hype, and no way to know what's actually good. NerdWallet's Smart Money Podcast cuts through the clutter. Their finance journalists break through real-world money decisions with clear research-backed insights. From investing to home buying to credit cards, the nerds help you navigate major financial decisions with confidence. Leave TV to fate. Leave your next financial move to the nerds. Follow NerdWallet's Smart Money Podcast wherever you listen.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
When it comes to the City of Yes plan, the name sounds optimistic, but New Yorkers should be very wary of what it really entails. The City Council just wrapped up 2 days of marathon hearings, and the feedback from residents paints a divided picture. It was almost 50-50. There were about 162 people who spoke in favor of City of Yes, 145 people who stood up to voice their opposition. New York City should reject this plan, and here's why. First of all, a significant number of the people speaking in favor of it were lobbyists or paid representatives from organizations that stand to profit if the plan is adopted. These are groups with skin in the game, meaning they'll financially benefit if more high-density developments get built in your neighborhood. On the other side, the people opposing it, they're not in it for the money. They're homeowners, tenants, civic associations, ordinary New Yorkers who are simply trying to protect their homes, their communities, and their way of life. It's a classic David versus Goliath scenario. And here's where it gets really interesting. New York City's housing situation isn't as dire as proponents of City of Yes would have you believe. Right now, we have the same population as we did back in 1960, but with 800,000 more housing units. We've already got 150,000 new units approved to be built over the next 4 years, a record number. So where's the crisis that City of Yes is supposed to solve? Not only that, but our current zoning laws can accommodate another 5 to 6 million units for 8 to 12 million people without changing a single thing. That's right. If we don't touch the zoning laws at all, there's still plenty of room for more development. So why do we need to bulldoze through existing neighborhoods with this plan? Supporters of City of Yes claim it will make housing more affordable, but the reality is that it will devastate lower and mid-density communities across the city. Imagine living on a block with mostly single-family homes, and suddenly a 10 or 20-unit apartment building pops up next door. It doesn't take much to see how that would change the character of your neighborhood overnight. The data suggests that some neighborhoods could see a 300% to 500% increase in potential development under this plan. That's not neighborhood preservation. It's an extinction event for these communities. The fact that some of the strongest supporters of this plan seem a bit hypocritical. Council members who once voted for contextual rezonings to protect neighborhoods are now dismissing those concerns as segregation communist and racist. Meanwhile, some of these same proponents live in multi-million-dollar co-ops in historic districts where they certainly won't have to worry about skyscrapers being built next door. It's easy to call for massive change when it won't directly impact your backyard. I say no on City of Yes.
Beam me up.
To be continued.